Alright, I've been told I am a negative Nancy, and people think I genuinely like complaining about things. But I have to tell you, and this is really important, for those of you that are really interested in Vampire Milan Uprising, or anything in the future made by Teburu, I put this out not because, I'm a hater, because there is something you really need to know about how this system works. And the way that Teburu has advertised all of this, it's pretty much the same way as a certain someone tried to sell a Hyperloop and then just turned it into a private car tunnel. Tech bros and the way they market stuff, they don't really seem to understand what the technology is and what they're trying to do. And this is where this is critical. I paid 400 euros for this. I'm not giving any money for this. This is just me and my 2 cents. And usually I don't do early reviews until I've gotten enough time in for a board game to actually get how it plays. I've played this game for 12 hours. And I did not enjoy a single minute of it. The other thing that I've done, it took 2 hours to set this up because this system runs off an app. The app has problems. But if you don't know what Teburu is this. This really, and this is what got me to buy this Teburu system. It is this board that has a bunch of sensors on it. It's made out of cardboard. You have a wireless charging system here, this detachable interface, it hooks up to a bunch of sensors. This thing is very jank. This is the whole thing that runs the app. And some of the problems I have is the charging on this, and this came out in the Kickstarter after they got started production. The dice don't actually fit all 3 dice here. I ran this for 24 hours to charge my dice, and the 2 dice that could lay flat, the third one couldn't fit in, didn't charge properly. I was like, that's a little weird, and I did some research on Teburu, and it was originally designed for a D6. So they built the limitations of Vampire around this size of a board. That is going to restrict a lot of design stuff. This board, being cardboard and being 100 euros, feels very disingenuous for the price. And the worst part about Vampire Milan is, this is required. There is no way of getting out of this. You must have this system. Another thing that I've learned while playing around with this system, and this got me really concerned, if you are going to play with a group of friends at a game store, going to someone's house and stuff, it requires that this system be plugged in non-stop. Now, it has to be plugged in for it to work. Plugging it in is also how it syncs. If it has been synced, you have to unplug it for it to resync automatically to the app. Funny thing is, you can't have dice charging while you're trying to sync because for some reason that tells it, no, it won't communicate. It's stuck in charge mode. Currently, it's looking for the host, which is this orange light. Now, when we get to the dice, these dice have to be placed with the 0 side face up to charge properly. Now you see it's doing that green, that means it's charging. It can't sync now. So you have to charge your dice and it has to sync. That's an annoying part because your dice don't maintain a charge very well and you're constantly rolling and you have to put them this face up for them to charge. Interrupts gameplay a lot. Now, what you get in this, and this is the collector's pledge, it wasn't the all-in, and I thought I got the all-in, but I got the collector's because it has this fun foiling. I don't know what the difference is. They were not very good at their description. You have these player sheets, which I guess they didn't want to include because everything was going to be controlled by the app. But the problem is, it's really annoying going back and forth looking for your stats. And I couldn't find a place to print these, so I'm guessing you just copy them. Okay. There's no instructions for this game. It's all run off this app. And this app has some major issues. Some of them being, it doesn't work right. And I'll have some gameplay footage that I'll be splicing in the video showing some of my gripes. But you have this sensor map calibration board, which is also really fun because if you want to do this in the middle of gameplay, it's going to interrupt everything. It's going to desync that. You have to resync it. And this is going to tell you how the little magnetic markers work. And this brings me to the other issue that I ran into while testing and playing this game. The way Teburu advertised each one of these minis bases was it was supposed to have some type of RFID computer chip, whatever, and it was going to sync. And you could put it here, and then you put it on the location, and it keeps track. And it does do that sometimes. Sometimes it just doesn't want to work because the app gets stuck. But in some of my gameplay that I've played, I will have a character in a spot, and I'll move, because you have to pick up each character individually to move it to the spot for the app to track. And then, because the spaces are so small, I'll end up pushing the guy back, and now it'll think this is the guy that it wants me to move, versus the original person that moved. And another problem I'll get to when I get to the game board. So it feels very weird that it does keep control some data for some of the figures, and at other times, it doesn't. And I don't know why it's doing that. I'm not a software guy. I don't know coding. If you guys know that, tell me in the comments, and I'll be like, cool. The D10 problem is, and I feel bad for anyone who bought and got 5, because these are like 15 euros a piece. The problem with these dice were, originally, and like I was saying, Teburu was designed for their first game, Sword and Sorcery or something, and Bad Karmas. They used D6s. I remember reading in the Kickstarter note that they needed to make the die bigger, but I don't remember reading about how they're not going to charge properly. I was like, that sucks. There's this LED ring that I didn't pay for because it's 30 euros, and from what I understood, it doesn't do anything except light up. Okay, I don't care. This was the special figure that was given to people that backed it early, and they make this seem like it was critical to gameplay. I played 12 hours in, still don't know how the game ends. There's no sensor in this. I don't know why they tried to market like this was critical for gameplay. I'm glad I didn't pay for this piece of crap, but I feel bad for anyone who does. This was the extra character expansions that was basically 4 more characters to add to the pool roster. You know nothing about them because they didn't give you the sheets. It's all in the app. This tray is kind of redundant. I do like this, though. This is something I agree everyone should do for game trays. But it just seems really weird the more I got into this. Then we get to this bottom part, and this is how they packed all the expansions. Unlabeled, doesn't tell you. This has no design spot. I don't know what it's for. Something I probably didn't make on the Kickstarter. This was supposed to be for, if you paid the extra, you could get phone screens, which is just cardboard walls to hide your phone data. And so far for playing the game, I don't know why it does that, or why it would be required. Your only idea how anything fits is by reading this little side panel, which is helpful, but this giant Prince figure and the extra characters came in another packaged box, so this kind of threw me off. And then we have these special fancy tombstones that are really just these circle markers. I was like, okay, well, you know, it seems like I didn't get a lot for what I paid, and I definitely, the way I sound right now tells you, I did not get a lot for what I paid. Who doesn't include a manual for the game? And I know it was the tech bro idea of, well, you know, they need a computer or a phone or iPad to use it, so why print a manual? They don't even know how the game works. And if they can't afford that stuff, well, they're plebs. I was like, that's kind of the attitude I'm getting from the designers. This board system, like I said, it is restricted to how it fits here. And it is a dual-layered board, and I actually like the idea of this board, but in practice, it's hard to read. If you notice some of these like chits right here, these are actually supposed to be flipped the other way. I'm still trying to finish this whenever I could force myself to. And they're unlockable location abilities. I was like, oh, that's really cool. The problem is, I have no idea what they mean half the time. This has the number 46 placed on it. It's meaningless. I don't know what that means. I don't know what any of the numbers mean. The iconography on these locations, they're also kind of meaningless. I can figure out that gives me blood. That's obviously a bus. But it's like a movie studio and some coins and a lock. It's not as intuitive as they think, especially with these locations. These squares are like 3/4 by almost an inch. They're kind of weird squares. Their iconography is very hard to read, and everything's controlled on the app. This little resting area, these are cool because these are upgradable, and you flip them over. You got no art here that's kind of drab, and there's a grand piano. And I was like, oh, that's really neat. And I was like, okay, this is going to be a really cool and really fun system. But then I started running to the issues. The gist of this game is area control, but it turned into a simulator of constantly moving around cubes, locations. It's just, this became more management than actually playing the game. And I was like, that feels really weird and off. And I didn't like that. Another thing came down to, and this is just, what were they thinking? Every time you move your character, the Teburu system keeps track of it. And so far, it's always made me start here. If I move a character, it has to be adjacent. I have to physically put them on the magnetic dot. Sometimes it doesn't read, so you'll see me like wiggle it a little bit in the video. That's because it didn't pick it up. Other abilities, they'll tell you just teleport 3. It doesn't care as long as it knows it's from 3 location. I'm like, that, okay, at least that works. Except, there's no back button if you want to make a different choice. Once that sensor picks it up, it's committed, and you lose an action. And this comes down to like a lot of the problems with the app. This board is constantly shifting with these tokens and figures everywhere. And after a while, if you put enough stuff, and for some godforsaken reason, you just end up with like 4 or 5 figures there, because sometimes you will, you're going to be fighting over this sensor marker. If another piece hits that sensor marker, Teburu freaks out and starts, either it'll swap the identities, or it'll just yell at you for doing illegal moves. I was like, that seems really weird, because I thought these were supposed to have personalized components and chips. And the sensor does do it. If you put it in this round base here, it will pop up something on the screen and say, oh, that's the right piece. So it's like, well, why does it do that when I only do certain things, but when I'm moving, and if I have to, a guy's already on there, because let's face it, you're going to put him there. The next guy moves over and wants to go to that location and knocks him off, and you're sliding stuff around. The sensor freaks out. These locations are hard to read. The text. I hate this text. It's very difficult for me to see, and I don't know if it's because I have bad eyesight, but, you know, I'll take that. I wear glasses. But with as much crap as they're on this board, it is very difficult to keep track of it. Some of these, as soon as you flip it over, like, it's pretty well camouflaged. You might not have noticed that little cutout there. But some of the other ones, like some locations like this, have 2 of them. And you're like, well, which one do I flip? Luckily, the system does a pretty good job of pointing that out. And that's where, like, the system starts going haywire, because that's about all the praise I have for it. Over time, you're going to add and take cubes, change markers, and all that. The Teburu system is fairly accurate with it. I say fairly, because sometimes it will just randomly change the layout. It will tell you to put cubes where there's already cubes, and that's messing up its whole limit system that it's keeping track of. It'll tell you to remove cubes when there's no cubes there, and you can scroll through the commands and actually see what it told you to do. And it's like, well, why did you arbitrarily choose to do this? And I was like, that's bizarre. And I was like, maybe it's some like software glitch or something. And that also gets me to the point of, I could not get this to work properly on my phone. I tried putting it on my tablet. My tablet has some weird soft lock error. It's stuck in limbo. So I played this on my laptop, and I've been playing this on my desktop. My laptop hates this app. It eats power like crazy. It doesn't know what it wants to do, and it's crashed like 3 or 4 times. I ran it on my desktop, which is more stable, but it won't shut down properly. And between the like 4 games I've tried to actually get this running, and the 1 game that's pretty successful so far, I quit in the middle of the night because it was 2 in the morning, and I was like, I need to go to sleep. And I saved it. And it had a really cool system where it was like, okay, it saved everything, except it saved it like 2 actions ago from when I quit out. So I had to repopulate and do everything, even though it told me to set some of the stuff out already. And I was like, that's that's insane. Why did it do that? A lot of the times it won't let you quit in the middle of anything. So you just kind of have to find the right place, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's mainly like at the start of a new day. And that also brings to another issue that I have with this game is certain quests, especially if you're going to put out your little influence markers, those little tombstone things, this is how you control territory in the game. They are time locked. X amount of time or something has to be triggered for you to actually be able to do that quest. And I was like, that's stupid. In a game about area control, and I'm broadly saying that because I have no idea actually how to win this game. This game gives you no instructions. Literally is, okay, the first scenario, this is how you play the game, this is what the dice do, this is what the faces do, this is what your abilities do. But the gist of it is, your abilities are just arbitrarily pointless. You are not going to be given the best information of what these skills do. Like, you have your special skills and stuff, that's all basically explained in the app. But these dots, these are your skill point and your leveling system. When you fill up the dot, that just lets you roll more dice. That doesn't mean that you're actually getting better. Granted, it does help you like auto-pass some skills by giving you certain advantages. There's no equipment in this game. Like no items, nothing that actually your character gets as an advantage or improvement. Everything is run on these stats. And all it does is let you roll more dice or gives you some like free auto-pass stuff. The auto-pass system is really interesting because this symbol, the 10, is considered a crit, which is 2 successes. The regular one is 1. You got the skull. This is actually -1 to your success. And then you have the blanks. The game is going to force you to roll these. It'll tell you, you must roll this many dice. And the game is weird because sometimes if you're critically successful, you're also going to punish yourself for actually succeeding at tests good. I was like, that doesn't really make sense. A lot of your abilities require you to roll these dice too, and it's a punishment if you fail. I was like, that seems really weird. I'm not sure if that's how the RPG works. I've played Vampire Jihad back in the day from Wizards of the Coast, and I love the game. And then, you know, kind of vanished because it's really complex and overbloated, but I liked it. So to find out how this system works, I was very confused. I was like, okay, well then we'll just play around with the dice and roll the dice. The motion sensor on these dice is god-awful. You will see in parts of the video, I will roll the die, and it will show the alert that the die is awake, and then I'll put a question mark and then freak out and say roll the die again, basically. Well, a lot of the times I will roll a double success, and then I'll shake this die, roll it like 15 more times, and sometimes it will want to do what it wants to do. I have just been shaking these, rolling around in my hand and grabbing them and physically placing to whatever it is. These sensors on these dice are weird. One die, the sensor's really good, but the other 2 dice, it's really wonky, and sometimes it'll read instantly, or it'll read within a split second before the die even actually stops moving. Yeah, this is a bad system to tie into it. I wish it let you just click on what you wanted, because, well, that goes to the other thing. There's no back button in the app. If something got messed up, like this nudged and screwed up the Teburu reading, yeah, there's no way to fix that. It's committed, it's stuck. If something like freaks out, sometimes the app will freak out and it'll just skip screens, and then you hit the button and then it goes back, it'll freak out again. I've been running a lot of weird problems with the app, and the app is mainly, well, the problem with this is, you've heard me complain about other games, but I've always said they're fixable with minor things. Most games are fixable with some minor things. You can't really fix the app, and that's a problem. It's one thing, you know, like I said, if you just made a mistake and you could go back, but they didn't put a back button. Everything is a committed soft lock move, even if the software freaks out. And that's an issue. This game I thought was going to be more in-depth, kind of like an RPG, because I thought the app was going to do a lot of that stuff. It's really move locations, really slow, because again, you have to put them on each marker. It's going to tell you stuff, yes or no things, and you can continue moving. Then you're going to check out a location. It's going to give you 3 objectives randomly, for the most part. One of them is usually going to be if something is marked with this location. that's going to come up in your explore action. The other 2 choices, 2 to 5 choices, are just randomly generated depending on whatever's around. And then again, sometimes these locations will have this and it's soft locked because it has to be night 4 or something for it to happen. So you're just like, why did you even put that there? I just wasted my turn doing nothing. I was expecting the text when it talked to be more different, but when you use your ability, it's always saying the same thing. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Not a lot of variety in that. And then from playing the game over a course of 12 hours, once you're locked out of certain things and doing weird stuff, it repeats missions. Literally, I had to go rescue a lion like 3 times just for some money. How many lions are running around Milan? Or is it the same lion? I have no idea. And the voice, I'm not sure if they used a text-to-speech to actually speak the dialogue or that it's AI generated. But the fact that it can't, the app cannot pronounce Interpol right concerns me. It was like Interpolis or something. It was very weird. It wasn't Interpol. And I wish I recorded the voiceover for that, but it makes me very suspicious what they use to make the tech stuff. So far, I have dominated most of the map. I'm on day 10, I think. And I'm just like, I don't want to play this anymore. This isn't even a role-playing to me. It is literally just arbitrarily move around, hope there's some story that I don't find very interesting or engaging. And, it's probably because I'm not a big RPG guy on the lore, but I do know the Vampire Masquerade lore and the idea behind it. This doesn't feel right. From a lore perspective, from a place perspective, it does the greatest sin of anything. It's boring. I am not having fun. I am literally forcing myself to be like, I gotta justify why I spent 400 some odd euros on this, which is I don't know, 480 bucks. Yeah, I spent a lot on this, and I bought into the tech bro hype. You know what games do this better and don't require you to buy a €100 patented Teburu system? Mansions of Madness, Imperial Assault. Hell, I'd even say ISS Vanguard or My Father's Work. And those are nowhere near this level. The only thing close to this is Mansions of Madness and Imperial Assault. But Mansions of Madness and Imperial Assault, it's not just playing with the app. You actually get to play with the board. You get to interact with people. And I say that very loosely because I've been playing this single player, which brings up another valid point. The box says this is a 1 to 4 player game. In the app, I had no choice but to play 4 players. So I was like, okay. That's weird. I haven't touched the expansions yet, and honestly, I'm probably not going to, because this isn't very fun. This has a very neat system of syncing up with other devices. So you can have one main device and up to 4 other devices communicate. I actually think everyone needs that. And all it is the phone keeping some secret information. But so far, playing on the screen, just click and do whatever. It doesn't really matter about the secret information. It's not like you're a traitor. So I'm not exactly sure why it does that. I'm glad I didn't pay the extra 30 euros for some phone screens. Just cardboard. And like I said, it kills my laptop. My phone doesn't want to run this fine, and it's a Google 6, and everything's been updated on it. This eats a lot of power for reasons I can't figure out. Hell, it might be stealing your information for all I know. My desktop doesn't like it, and like I said, it doesn't want to shut out. The app is bad. And having an app-driven system like this that is not fully tested out, and I'm not saying they didn't lie to us, but I also feel like they implied a lot more than the capability. It's kind of like the belief that AI is this super great thing until you realize that AI is nothing that people claim it to be. And that's the problem I have with this. They tried to force new technology into a system that this technology doesn't work. They actually already have it. It's called a video game. You could literally play this game on the app, but because it requires syncing with that and these board magnets, I was like, is this the way they got bypassed it? Because Fantasy Flight just basically didn't keep track of the tokens for you. So you had to have a physical board. And it's like they just came up with a new scam. And that's kind of what it feels like. You sold me a system that kind of works, but it is so restrictive and does so little. I can't play this when the power's out. I can't take this and play it with a group of friends. If we have some issues, we gotta pause and read all the app crap. Like, it's just, it interrupts so much. The other thing is, who in God's mind decided to make a friggin' 10-hour to 12-hour campaign in a board game? I have punished myself playing this game for 12 hours, looking for what is redeeming about this. And sadly, I can't actually think of what's redeeming because this is controlled by this system. I have a feeling that a lot of people are going to run into these issues, and I hope Teburu is actually going to pay attention and listen. Fix your app. Your app has problems and it needs to be worked on. And I'm not sure if it's also the manufacturing of some of the sensors. I did all the sensor calibrations on the sheet to make sure all the sensors are reading properly. But however it's coded, like this will know this character if I put it on the screen when it tells me to do the character selection screen. This is how it knows. So it knows it's this character. But if for some reason that they fight over this little dot, it's going to get confused. Why did you make a board so cramped? It is difficult to put all the tokens out. And you'll see in the playthrough video stuff like how cramped a location is. And a lot of it is constantly moving tokens. I am literally doing more token management and movement than actually playing the game. This board is very difficult to read, even when you have the app. And I am running this on a 24-inch monitor. And I'm still having a hard time because someone decided they want to be artistic and do this zigzag bullshit. A lot of confusing choices here. Good ideas. And then they kind of gave up. Or they thought it was good enough. Or honestly, they invented the wheel and then patted themselves on the back. This is the BS tech bro sci-fi nonsense of trying to promise you more than they can deliver. And I'm really disappointed in it because I was expecting this to live up to the hype. And that's why I say this video is a warning. Teburu, this is their fourth game, or third game they've released. They got another expansion of Bad Karma in the work. The way they've been trying to market this system as the future of board gaming, I don't think anyone is going to jump on this system. It is very restrictive for its size, its capability, and just flat out idiocracy of creating a 2-die charger when games need more dice, or having this. This could have been a lot bigger and to fit a lot more, but they decided this was fine. So I've noticed some of the design, like these rooms, like they're cool rooms, but you're only going to use 4 at a time. And honestly, these 4 rooms, well, this one's useful. You didn't need these, is what I'm saying. You could have made the big board a little bit bigger. The amount of money and technology that they supposedly put into this is very disappointing because, like I said, it makes a lot of errors and miscalculations. One time when I was picking up allies, such as the ghoul allied stuff, it told me, oh, put it in the sensor. It refused to actually read the sensor until I reset the whole game. I was like, that's weird. And you're going to run into a lot of those errors in the software. I'm not exactly sure if that's going to get addressed or fixed. But when you want to put this much technology to run a game, and then the game is literally just me shuffling tokens around, I'd rather play a video game. There was no interaction. Roll dice, except, you're still just rolling dice that may or may not wake up when you shake them. There's many times that, like, you'll do a result and it doesn't pop up. And you're just like, why does it do that? And it will give you a vibration warning of a little icon that says, oh, the dice are awake. But then you'll roll it and it'll have a question mark, and it means it didn't pick it up. But then sometimes it'll instantly pick it up in your hand, and I'm just like, well, I haven't even rolled the dice yet. So, bizarre. Just friggin' bizarre system. But yeah, originally I intended to do some giveaway stuff with this, but the way that they explained it, the campaign was very bizarre because the collector's edition, the all-in edition, it was not clear on a lot of stuff, and a lot of it just seemed janky, like an LED ring that just does lights and tells whose turn it is, but the app does that. And for $30 and I need to charge it, this is not worth it. The phone screens, the die tray, a lot of it just seemed like they kept on adding more stuff to inflate the value. And I know Kickstarter is notorious for that. But the way these guys did it with the shadiest, cheapest components, thinking that this was going to help you, was kind of the issue. I was very skeptical about this, but I was very excited at the same time. And yeah, that dream of a better system, that got me. So yeah, good job marketing. You fooled me. So I'm gonna try to undo that. I do not recommend Vampire the Masquerade or anything using the Teburu system. And I say that with all up honesty and sincerity of testing out and playing this. It's not a ripoff, but it's nowhere as good as the potential they show. And I see that potential being nowhere as good because actually trying the system now and seeing how much effort they put into the technology, I don't think it works right. It shouldn't do that if they have unique ID chips in here or RFID tags or codes. It shouldn't do that, but it does. The motion sensor and the dice, they work about 80% of the time, and then sometimes they don't work at all for reasons I can't figure out. Soft locking progression because you want to over artificially inflate game time is bad. I don't like that. Mechanically, this whole game is just me rolling dice. There are some like clues to the abilities and choices you have in the game, but not everything makes sense. This very difficult and atrocious map that's just congested, and you'll see some gameplay footage of it. It's bad. And it makes me really sad and angry at the same time. I don't know about you guys, but, money is tight. And you look forward to things, and that's why you got all the fanboys that defend it, and then get mad at you because you pissed on their dreams. I'm not here to piss on your dreams. I'm here to show you something, and this is something that we all need to take in the gaming community. We get ripped off because of this scam system of FOMO, trying to push things, trying to get the reinvented the wheel, or it's not just reinventing the wheel, we added extras. And it hurts, especially with the times coming with, supposedly the tariffs and everything else. We can't take the luxury of buying stuff like this and be like, oh yeah, and then companies accepting that, hey, this dumbed down lower version of exploitation works. I pointed fingers at CMON, friggin' Steamforge. Yeah, they do that. But at least they deliver something that can be manipulated, fixed, and done. It's something that can be played with if the power goes out, because for reasons. Games like that, at least you actually have a component that you can still play with. The only thing you got here is a bunch of overpriced minis that you can't even play with properly unless you want to, I guess, in another game, but that's not what it's for. You cannot interact with this unless you have a computer, phone, or tablet. And yeah, supposedly you ordered off Kickstarter, you have one of those. But then you want to do play groups. The whole idea of you could go out and meet other play groups. That seems like a really cool system, but there's no support for it. And I was just like, does this mean you have to find a friend, 2 people that actually own this game to play? Is that how this works? There is no host matching or finding or anything. Steam does that. A bunch of video games have host finders. Not this. So it's like, what did this actually add or improve? And honestly, who the hell is this for? I don't know the demographic overlap of board game players and hardcore video game players that kind of merge. I mean, they're there, don't get me wrong. I just don't know if it's that big of a Venn diagram to say, hey, you want to play a video game on a board game, but it's slower and more tedious, and you need a copy of it, and it's going to be like 500 euros? That's a hard sell. This could have been a crappy app-based driven game for like $10. But they decided to up the price by making it a board game. And they got the rights to, do the masquerade thing, which, again, seems very disingenuous, especially you can't even make your own characters. So, yeah. Stay away from this steaming pile of crap. Stay away from Teburu. And I'm pretty sure Teburu is going to come after me and be like, hey, man, you're causing us to lose money. And I'll be like, well, cool, you're scamming people. Make a better product. But yeah, that's about all I got for this. Definitely show it off to your friends before this gets taken down. Other than that, on a cheery note, I'm still doing the 2025 giveaway. I'm still giving away stuff on that. And if you check that out, you might win some stuff. Other than that, I hope this has been enlightening, listening to me rant about a terrible board game. Take care of yourselves, and GG's.